Channel Islands National Park. Get into a boat at Ventura, California and head southwest into the Pacific Ocean. After a 14-mile ride, you'll come to Anacapa Island, which is actually 3 small islands. It looks like 3 rocky dots in the ocean with more birds than people. It's also part of one of the most unusual national parks in the United States. Channel Islands National Park was created in 1980 to protect Anacapa and 4 other nearby islands. The park is home to more than 2,000 different kinds of plants and animals. More than 140 of them are unique or special to these islands. You won't find them anywhere else in the world. About half of Channel Islands National Park is underwater, and many of the park's unique plants and animals live in the ocean. Anacapa Island. Anacapa is the closest of the Channel Islands to the mainland and is visited most often, but it still takes about 1.5 hours by boat to get there. Its steep rock cliffs, hundreds of feet high, are an impressive sight. You can sometimes see California sea lions and harbor seals resting on its rocky shores. The island colony of the endangered California brown pelican is on the western part of the island. You can hike and camp on the island and swim, snorkel, and scuba dive in the waters around the island. There are 8 islands that make up the Channel Islands. 5 of the 8 islands form Channel Islands National Park: Anacapa, San Miguel, Santa Rosa, Santa Cruz, and Santa Barbara. They range in size from tiny Santa Barbara, which is only about 1 square mile, to the largest one, 24-mile-long Santa Cruz. The other 3 islands are not part of the park. The United States Navy owns San Nicolas and San Clemente. Much of Santa Catalina is a private preserve, an area where natural resources are protected. The rest is a popular resort, with 2 towns where people live year-round. If you visit Channel Islands National Park, you can enjoy the wildlife and natural beauty of the islands. You can camp, you can hike the trails, you can fish and swim, you can walk on rocky or sandy beaches, but you can't stay very long. No one lives permanently anymore on Anacapa, San Miguel, Santa Rosa, Santa Cruz, or Santa Barbara, the islands within the national park. Park rangers take visitors on nature hikes, help people who are in trouble, and care for the park. But these islands are protected for the plants and animals that live there. There are no stores or hotels. If you want water or food, you have to bring your own. If you stay overnight, you have to bring along your own camping equipment. The people of the Channel Islands. The islands were not always uninhabited or not lived on. American Indians of the Chumash tribe discovered the Channel Islands thousands of years ago. They could see some of the islands from the mainland. The Chumash built canoes out of wooden planks and crossed the Santa Barbara Channel to reach the islands. They fished near the islands. They found other foods on the islands. They brought items from the islands back to their homes on the mainland. In time, some Chumash built permanent settlements on Santa Cruz, Santa Rosa, and San Miguel. These settlements grew. The villagers on the island began to trade with one another and with villagers on the mainland. In the late 1500s, several European explorers spotted the islands as they sailed along the California coast. Juan Cabrillo was the first to land on the islands in 1542. Other explorers stopped there from time to time. Some also went ashore, but the islands didn't interest the explorers, at least not yet. So the people and the wildlife of the Channel Islands stayed isolated for many more years. Everything changed in the late 1700s when the Spanish started to build missions along the California coast. Missions were settlements run by Catholic priests. The number of settlers in California increased. Interest in the islands also increased. European settlers from the mainland began to move there. Fur trappers and traders from Russia, Britain, and the United States visited the islands too. The waters around the islands were full of sea otters, northern fur seals, and northern elephant seals. Their furs were valuable. The trappers and traders killed so many that the animals almost disappeared from the area. Much of the Chumash population of the islands died as a result of contact with Europeans and Americans who unknowingly brought diseases with them. Many diseases that were common among Europeans were completely new to American Indians. Their bodies had no immunity or resistance to these illnesses. In the late 1700s, several thousand Chumash still lived on the islands, but they had to compete with Spanish and Mexican settlers for land on the islands. The Chumash lost. In the early 1800s, Spanish soldiers forced the Chumash to leave the islands and settle in Catholic missions on the mainland. With the American Indians gone, all land on the islands was under the control of Mexico. Beginning in the 1830s, many settlers started farms and ranches there. They raised cattle and sheep. Ranching continued after the islands became part of the United States into the mid-1900s. Then, some of the islands were taken over for military purposes. Eventually, the islands were no longer used for farming and ranching. Saving the islands. Over time, biologists began to understand the importance of the natural environment of the islands. Cold currents from the north and warm currents from the south meet in the waters around the islands. As a result, there is a mix of cold water and warm water creatures that cannot be found in other places. By the 1930s, several species or types of seabirds, seals, sea lions, and other mammals were decreasing in numbers on the islands. In 1938, the United States government established the Channel Islands National Monument on the islands of Anacapa and Santa Barbara. This protected the nesting grounds of several of the animals. To protect the plants and animals of the Channel Islands even more, Channel Islands National Park was created in 1980. The new park included Anacapa, Santa Barbara, San Miguel, Santa Cruz, and Santa Rosa Islands. Wildlife is protected there, as it is in all national parks. At the same time, the government also created the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. A marine sanctuary is an area of protection for marine or ocean species. The sanctuary is within a boundary line that extends 6 nautical miles around the 5 islands of Channel Islands National Park. All sea life within the boundary line is protected. The sanctuary also protects cultural sites such as Chumash artifacts and the shipwrecks in the waters around the islands. The protection of the plants and animals of the Channel Islands is a main goal of the national park. For so small an area, the Channel Islands have many types of wildlife. The list of land animals includes island foxes, lizards, deer mice, salamanders, frogs, snakes, and bats. There are many types of birds, including eagles, hawks, falcons, owls, gulls, and pelicans. Marine animals include otters, seals, sea lions, whales, and many species of fish. Some of the animals and plants are endangered species. Species that are endangered could die out because so few of them are left. Species that are not yet endangered but are decreasing in number are called threatened. Without protection, they too could become endangered. Santa Cruz Island. This is the largest of the islands in the park. It is located between 19 and 25 miles off the California coast, not far from Ventura. The National Park Service controls the eastern tip of the island. A nonprofit organization that buys and preserves land controls the rest of the island. Santa Cruz has many types of landscapes. There are mountain ranges and canyons, marshes, grasslands, and pine forests. The coast has steep cliffs, giant sea caves, and wide beaches. The island has 650 species of plants and trees. The animals include foxes, bats, and lizards. Visitors can see dolphins, whales, and porpoises in the water around the island. Hiking, camping, swimming, snorkeling, scuba diving, and kayaking are allowed on the island and its surrounding waters. One species that park rangers and biologists are trying to protect is the island fox. In the 1990s, the number of foxes on the island dropped quickly. In 1994, San Miguel had about 400 foxes. By 1998, there were just a few dozen. Scientists found two causes: predators, or animals that eat other animals, and disease. It turned out that newcomers to the island, golden eagles, were catching and eating many of the foxes. The tiny foxes, only about as big as a cat and much smaller than the eagles, made a meal that was easy to catch. People first spotted golden eagles on the island in 1975. They now nest on the islands and will probably remain a problem for the island foxes. Diseases from the mainland are an even bigger problem for the foxes. In the last few years, many have died of diseases spread by dogs. Dogs from the mainland can carry diseases that infect the foxes. The foxes have no immunity to the diseases and often die. The National Park Service is trying to help foxes by protecting them from these diseases. One way is to keep mainland dogs off the San Miguel Island. San Miguel is 55 miles west of Ventura. It is the farthest of all the Channel Islands from shore. To some people, it feels like the end of the world. It is empty, windswept, and often covered by fog. San Miguel has more than 20 miles of rocky coastline with a few sandy beaches. Visitors can see 6 types of seals and sea lions on the westernmost beach. No other place in the world has as many types of seals and sea lions in one location. In winter, as many as 50,000 of them crowd together on the shore. The island also has beautiful wildflowers because of its fog and moisture. Rangers lead hikes on San Miguel for visitors. Visitors can also swim, snorkel, scuba dive, camp, kayak, and watch the wildlife, including island foxes on the island. Saving the nature of the islands. The Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary protects 27 species of whales and dolphins that live there for at least part of the year. It also protects 5 species of seals and sea lions. More than 60 marine bird species feed or nest there, and there are more than 23 species of sharks in these waters. Giant kelp, a large brown seaweed, grows in waters throughout the sanctuary. The kelp provides a home for many types of sea animals, such as sponges, crabs, lobsters, octopuses, and many types of fish. Sea lions and seals that were almost wiped out by the fur trade have made a comeback in the marine sanctuary. Many species breed there. Stellar sea lions and Guadalupe fur seals pass through the area. Endangered species that live in the marine sanctuary include blue whales, humpback whales, sei whales, and southern sea otters. Endangered seabirds, such as the California brown pelicans and California least terns, are also protected. To save marine species, the government established a no-take zone in the waters around some of the islands. Fishing is not allowed in these zones. Too much fishing in the past caused the numbers of some fish to drop too low. A period of no fishing lets the number of fish bounce back. The National Park Service is trying to return the environment of the islands to its natural state. Over the centuries, people brought many types of animals with them from the mainland. Some of these species, such as rabbits, pigs, rats, sheep, and goats, still run wild on many parts of the islands. These plant-eating animals have destroyed the natural plant life in some areas. When the plant life disappears, animals that are native to the islands and need these plants cannot find enough food. The loss of plants also allows heavy rains to wash away soil during storms. Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara is the smallest and southernmost of the Channel Islands in the national park. Its rocky cliffs rise to 2 high peaks. The island was once overrun by rabbits brought from the mainland. They destroyed the native plant life and non-native plants took over. Now that the rabbits are gone, the native vegetation is coming back. In spring, the island is covered with wildflowers. The island is great for watching birds, including the endangered brown pelican and land birds such as barn owls and meadowlarks. California sea lions and elephant seals make the mammal watching good too. Channel Islands National Park may not be easy to get to, but its scenery, wildlife, and history make it one of the most interesting natural parks you could visit. Even if you never visit, it's good to know that this unusual environment is being cared for and protected.